before we dive into these next two songs, I need to provide a little more background that I probably should have provided in the prologue. That background being everything that happened with the baker's father that caused the baker's family to be cursed in the first place. Sorry, I kind of forgot to tell you during the prologue. I did not remember just how important it was, which was just really silly of me. So, when the baker's mother was pregnant, not with the baker, but with his sister, she developed a very specific appetite. The appetite in this case being for just greens. Just all the greens. And the witch lists a lot of them, but I'm not going to here. And the baker's father and his wife just so happen to live next to the witch, who has a whole garden. So the baker's father decides to sneak into the witch's garden and steal some of her greens to give to his wife. The witch catches him, and instead of turning him into an inanimate object, she decides, okay, you can keep the greens, there's plenty here, but I am going to take your firstborn child. So the baker's father leaves the garden, but what the witch is unaware of is that the baker's father also took some beans that he was hiding in his jacket pocket. And the beans were apparently the one thing that the witch had to make sure not to let anybody take. And we don't know the exact specifics of that. We do know it has something to do with her mother, so presumably her mother planted those beans and told the witch not to let anybody take them. And so when the witch visited the house of the baker's father and mother, she took their daughter and also decided to curse the entire family to make sure they wouldn't have any more kids. Also, I'm realizing that what I said earlier was that the witch was going to take their firstborn, which actually isn't true, because I believe the baker was their firstborn. What she actually said was that she was going to take the baby that her wife was going to bear, which in this case was Rapunzel. So the witch takes Rapunzel, and the entire family is cursed. And when the baker put on his father's old hunting jacket to go out into the woods, he found the beans still in the pocket. So now that that long and convoluted history is out of the way, let's go ahead and actually talk about the song.
And the baker gave Jack 5 beans in exchange for his cow, keeping one for himself.
Now this song is actually split into 2 different songs, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about them both in this video as if they're one unit. The baker's wife, despite the baker telling her to stay home, follows the baker into the woods under the pretense of delivering his scarf that he forgot to bring. While they're arguing with the baker trying to tell his wife to go back home, they come across Jack, who's gotten a little bit lost on his way to the market. And as you remember, he's trying to sell his cow Milky White, who just so happens to be a cow whose white is milk. The baker's wife then hatches a plan to make Jack believe that the beans are magic, so they buy the cow from Jack with 5 of the 6 magic beans that the baker has. Because they don't have any other money, and also because Milky White wouldn't have sold for a lot on the market due to being a very old cow who doesn't even provide milk anymore. The first song in this section of 2 is just Jack singing to Milky White. The song does a very good job of just showing how much love he has for his cow. This is something we do see in the prologue, but this particular song just really emphasizes how much he loves his cow. And it also lets us see just how much he cares for his mother. Because it's very clear that he doesn't want to give Milky White away. But he and his mother are very clearly in dire straits. They don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of food, and since it's just the 2 of them, they can't do too much. And Jack very clearly cares a lot about his mother if he's willing to go and sell his best friend, who happens to be a cow, for money. And this indication of just how much he loves his mother does become very important, both in this act, but also in the next one. The next song in this section is a bit more interesting. Once Jack leaves, the baker reveals that he is very disgusted by the deal that was just made. Because he and his wife have no proof that these beans are magic, so from the baker's point of view, they just took this boy's friend and gave him completely useless beans. Because they only gave them 5, which means if they weren't magic, that's not even enough for 1 person, let alone 2. But his wife sings this whole song about how, while this may have been shady, the reason they did it is very good. They are trying to get a child, and to do that, they need this cow, so whatever they need to do is worth it. And one of the reasons this is interesting is not just because it leads to an interesting characterization for this baker's wife, but also because it's a very important theme that's explored a lot in the second act. This whole idea of the ends justifying the means, this whole idea that, well, what we're trying to do is good, so anything we have to do that is at least tolerable, isn't explored too much in this first act. We get a little bit of it with the baker and the baker's wife and that whole storyline, but for the most part, this one is very much these people are good, these people are bad, that's it. But the whole gray morality and the whole who's right, who's wrong, etc. kind of thing really comes to play in the second act. So this song is very much foreshadowing and almost a teaser for the more complicated nature of the second act. So, that is it for this week's song. Tune in next week for next week's song. See you then!